Gotta check my mic. Oh, come on. Hello.
Rabbi.
3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing, testing, testing. Can we also get a mic for Joan?
Ready?
Testing, testing. Are we live? Jody? Wonderful. Shabbat shalom, everyone. I invite you all to please rise if you are able.
Tikia. Shivarim. Turua. Tikia Gedola. Yashikah.
Please be seated.
Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha,
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
And Shana Tova. Happy New Year. So to start out, B'Shem Amro, as we say, to give credit to where this is coming from, I'm borrowing a joke from my girlfriend's father, Terry Tobin, who heard this from a rabbi at Park Avenue Synagogue in New York. And the joke goes like this. There were 3 inmates awaiting capital punishment in prison. An Italian, a Frenchman, and a Jewish guy who didn't happen to be French or Italian. I always like to clarify that we could be both. Now, as a courtesy, they were each entitled to make a request for their final meal to the warden. So you can, imagine based on stereotypes what they might have ordered. The Italian requested pasta. Very good, the warden said. He brought him tortellini. Then the Italian was taken to the gallows. And the Frenchman ordered, let's just say escargot. I know there's a lot of options. Very good, the warden said. He had the escargot brought to him. And then the Frenchman was sent off to the gallows as well. And finally, the warden turned to the Jew. What would you like? Matzo ball soup? Strawberries, the Jew responded. The warden was perplexed. He turned to his chef just to double check, and he confirmed, sorry, not in season. That's fine, the Jew said. I'll wait. It's a good one. So maybe it's not the season for strawberries, but 'tis the season for teshuvah. Am I not right, my friends? We are all here, whether we are aware or not, on Shabbat Shuvah, one of the special Shabbatot throughout the year. This is not just the Shabbat of strawberries or pumpkins. No, this is the Shabbat of Teshuvah, to return. And that concept of return sounds so abstract, but let's try to really narrow in on what it really means. Teshuvah of return is a return to perhaps who we truly are as beings made in the divine image, people who are capable of living in a godly way. And we take this matter very personally this time of year, to return to a personal understanding of who we should become. So let's do that this Shabbat Teshuvah together, and we'll begin with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. And I'm honored to invite my amazing 6th grade teacher, Ira, to please lead us in the lighting of the candles. We should be on page 2, I believe.
And we'll join in the blessing all together as we put extra light in the Shabbat. Beautiful. We sing the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner. Lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Toda Rabbi, Ira. Friends, you should have a siddur in front of you, a prayer book. I said to some of you that, you got the memo that this is a very important Shabbos to be at synagogue, the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, this, as Rabbi Klein said, the Shabbat of returning. And for clergy or chazanim, I just love the liturgy because there's a lot of additions tonight, especially when we get to the Amidah, that remind us of this special season, of this special time. So if you're like a prayer nerd like me and, like to pray every day, these 10 days are extremely special. And I'm just glad you are here to join us in this beautiful prayer tonight. So we begin on page 12, as we always do, to welcome Shabbat in with the singing of Lechu Neranena. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai, Naria, Letzor Yishenu Dekadma Fana Betoda. Naria, Letzor Yishenu Bizbirot Naria Lo. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. We continue singing our joy. Page 13, the last paragraph in the Hebrew. We sing Yismechu Hashamayim,
Hashamayim,
Yismechu Hashamayim,
Hashamayim,
Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz. Let's do that again. Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, that's your part. Yismechu Hashamayim,
Hashamayim,
Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz.
Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Ulo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Ulo. So, I don't know if you happen to be on TikTok, or if you happen to be on,
I hope.
yeah, not right now, or on this side of TikTok, as they say. But there's a wild phenomenon going on right now where the Miami Boys Choir, which is hard to understand, but it's actually in New York apparently, has taken over the world by storm, as they say. Millions of people have seen these young Orthodox boys get together to sing at around age 10, 11, 12, and are filling the world with this amazing joy of singing psalms. It's wild, absolutely wild. So I think just reflecting on that, let's sing more psalms together with joy on this Shabbat Shuvah. So we'll begin with, or continue with Zamru, Lanonai, which you can find on page 16.
Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar. Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Continue on page 20 with the singing of Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala,
Likrat Kala,
Pnei Shabbat,
Pnei Shabbat,
Nekabela,
Nekabela,
Lecha Dodi,
Lecha Dodi,
Likrat Kala,
Likrat Kala,
Pnei Shabbat,
Pnei Shabbat,
Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Yishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad U'shmo echad L'shem tiferet v'litzchila L'chadodi
Shabbat, Nekabela, Lecha Dodi,
Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat,
Nekabela,
Likrat Shabbat, Lechu v'nelcha,
ותחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה
פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי awake כי באורך קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
Please rise and face the entrance.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמונה סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך You may be seated. We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish, page 26. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba
Amen.
B'amad yivrach cherutei v'yamlik malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei docho beit Yisrael Bagala ובזמן קריב ויברו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתהלל שמי דקודשה
בריחו
לעילה ולעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן.
I'd like you to please rise for our call to worship on the following page, 28.
Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach yai lai 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 yai Baruch
Please be seated and turn to page 31 and read with me at the top of the page. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows.
Baruch atah Adonai, Amari Varavim.
We turn the page to 32. We join together. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Turn to page 34.
Shema, Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Let's turn to page 40 now. Now, as we look at the Mi Chamocha, I'm always very curious about the parallel nature of Jewish holidays. Often we look at these holidays as extremely personal for us, right? Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. We try to right the wrongs that we've done at this time of year. And on the flip side of the year is Passover, the holiday in which we celebrate the group, not just the individual, the group coming together to become the Jewish people, freed from slavery, heading to Eretz Israel, the land of Israel. I'm going to talk more about this shortly. But what can be beautiful is looking at these group, collective, national stories and adding on another layer of interpretation as our own personal stories. That we are all coming from Mitzrayim, a narrow place, opening up to the promised land, opening up our world with possibilities. And I hope we can look forward to this new year with that in mind, that we can go from our narrow place to a world of possibilities of forgiveness, redemption, and peace. Let's join Mi Chamocha together, page 40.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele. Malchutecha ra'u banecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, uga'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. As we turn to page 42, as a prelude to our Hashkivenu prayer, our prayer for peace, I want to share with you something that I learned today. It's very beautiful. I studied this book by Rabbi Jacob Simon. It's every day it's called A Spiritual Guide to the High Holy Days, and every day there's a little teaching. And for this Shabbat Teshuvah, he teaches that there are two types of teshuvah. A teshuvah out of fear, and a teshuvah out of love. The former only affects the present and on, but the latter, however, has the power to transform the past. It actually transforms intentional sins into merits, as the Talmud says. And that is the power of teshuvah that comes from love, not fear of punishment or guilt, but out of love as we get closer to our source, to God, to peace. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Page 44. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ושמרו rise and turn to page 46 as we begin our Amidah together. As I mentioned, there are some insertions that you'll see for Shabbat Shuvah. We'll say those insertions out loud together, and then we'll continue silently in our own prayer. Make sure to see where it says to include on Shabbat Shuvah those metaphors that bring God to a kingship, to majesty, king and queenship. And we begin together, page 46. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 48. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekone Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei B'Nehem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Zochreinu L'chaim, Melech Chafetz B'chaim, וכותבנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. Page 50. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אב הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. Page 52. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים כל יום יהללוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש. We continue silently through page 62. Make sure to include those special insertions for Shabbat Shuvah. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu. וכתוב לחיים טובים כל בנבראתך. Shalom Rav Israel. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה ניזכר וניכתב לפניך.
Page 16.
אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים, לחיים טובים ושלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Amen.
And at the conclusion of our personal prayers, we add a collective prayer for all of those in our lives who need a refu'at hanefesh, a refu'at haguf, a full healing of body and soul. So we'll say the words that Moses said when his sister needed healing. El na refana la. Please, God, heal her or him, and please, God, heal us. And when we pause between the stanzas, I'll ask you to share those names aloud for whom you are praying for. Try that with me. Now repeat after me. Dear God of our ancestors,
Dear God of our ancestors,
help us renew our faith.
help us renew our faith.
Grant us a perfect healing.
Grant us a perfect healing.
Bring peace to all our days.
Bring peace to all our days.
Now at this time, please say those names aloud for whom you're praying for. To those we add Lev, Heschel ben Batami v'Yaakov, Nechabat Sarah Rivka, Chana Ruth bat Chanavit Theodore, Aaron David ben Pialea, Harav Tuvia Levi ben Yosef Tzvi HaKohenu Batya, Harav Reuven Shlomo ben Mendel Velea, Naomi bat Miriam v'Harav Yosef, Miriam bat Simcha v'Shifra, Reuven Avraham ben Mordechai v'Ada, Eliana Shai bat Binyamin v'Shira Leah, Gavriela bat Nechemia u'Devorah, Rachel Devorah, Jerry Bain, Becky Caudle, Pat Caudle. We're praying for Lee Conkle, Barbara Cooper Schaefer, David Dockner, Rebecca Ferriel, Larry Footer, Elaine Dank Freeman, Karen Gillen, Warren Grove, Suzanne Greenbaum, Annette Harris, Kiana Greenwald, Bobby Jacobs, Ethan Kadish, Jeff Cape, Melissa Katz, Kathy Kellerman, Delma Killinger, Jesse Cloth, Kaya Cloth, Jerry Cruz, Valerie Kunze, Marilyn Lassen, Robin Levin, Cheryl Logan, Devorah Neve, Maddie Osborne, Anthony Paneth, Clark Patton, Linda Rosenthal, David Schulman, Bernie Spire, Robert Stone, Annette Turner, and Luca Zuckman. We sing together.
wish them refuah shlema, full healing. Okay, my friends, Chavrei, you've made it through Rosh Hashanah. You've made it through most of Shabbat services now. I'd say you've certainly earned a time to move around a little. If you'd like to stand up or do it while you're sitting, take a moment to stretch a little bit. Any part of your body, your neck, get a good one in there. Always feels good. So, now that you've done that, I want you to now imagine something ridiculous with me for just a minute. Imagine only stretching once a year. Boy, oh boy, imagine how stiff you would be. Well, it's time to ask ourselves, are there certain spiritual muscles that we haven't stretched in quite a while? After all, this is indeed Shabbat Shuvah, the Shabbat of return. We are in the heart of the high holidays. This is Teshuvah season. If we haven't made Teshuvah, if we haven't made amends and returned to that path of the righteous, now is the time. One of my rabbis in seminary taught me an interesting way to understand these high holy days. Our Yom Kippur service and our Jewish prayer rituals throughout the year, they replaced what was originally sacrificial rites. Sacrifice was the means for atonement, to connect to God. And without this sacrificial system, the ancient understanding is that the world would become congested with our transgressions, our wrongs, and become so bottled up that it would collapse. Yom Kippur and other sacrificial times were ways to achieve a release so that the world would still stand intact. In other words, all of us need these holy times of the year when we focus very much intently on this most important and holy task of teshuvah, of return. But is that the way to live? To let our spirituality stiffen and our wrongs bottle up only for a single release each year? If the stretching isn't working yet, a friend gave me another parable. Imagine walking and getting a small pebble in your shoe. Right? While you're walking, it's annoying at first. You can deal with it for a little while, but to walk a mile in that shoe without removing the pebble, that can cause debilitating pain. Well, we can say the same of teshuvah. Why should we wait to make amends? You may be aware that teshuvah is in fact not a once-a-year affair in our tradition. In Judaism, in our practice, teshuvah is a daily, weekday practice. A prayer for teshuvah is included in the Amidah, traditionally said 3 times each day. And this is that insert. Hashivenu avinu letoratecha, return us, our Father, our Teacher, to your Torah. V'karvenu malkenu la'avodatecha, draw us near, our ruler, to your service. V'haksirenu b'teshuvah shlema lefanecha, bring us back to you in true teshuvah, true return. Baruch atah Adonai harotzeh b'teshuvah. Blessed are you, Adonai, who desires teshuvah. In other words, who welcomes our return. When I started rabbinical school, I had no idea this prayer existed. In our final years of school, we were actually required to complete internships. And a position was available at a very unique institution called Beit Teshuvah in Los Angeles. Beit Teshuvah is it's one of a kind. In their words, it is a rehabilitation center, a congregation, a community, and a state of mind. It truly has become a nationwide place of refuge for those afflicted with addiction. I know that many of you know probably folks that have attended Beit Teshuvah and found great healing and community there. Now, I came to Beit Teshuvah for a pastoral care internship interview with their founding Rabbi, Mark Borovitz. I don't know if you've ever met a rabbi who is also sort of a tough guy, but Rabbi Borovitz is definitely in that category. He's very intimidating in multiple ways at first, as well as incredibly caring and compassionate once you connect with him. Rabbi Borovitz asked me, how do I do teshuvah? I was nonplussed. Me? Need to do teshuvah? I responded, well, I try to do the right thing most of the time. Going to rabbinical school, I don't really have a regular practice. The rabbi looked at me stone-faced, and I shifted uncomfortably in my seat. He then drew my attention to the Amidah, to this prayer for teshuvah. I knew the words at this point now, but now, from this interview, I actually understood their significance. Teshuvah is a daily affair and an opportunity available to all of us. Our wrongs should not bottle up throughout the year and overwhelm us. We can all do teshuvah no matter how perfect we think we are. We all have our demons, so to speak. We all have wrongs that need to be made right. Long story short, to my surprise, I got the job. I didn't take it though. I took an internship at another synagogue, but I will never forget those few minutes that I had with Rabbi Borovitz. Now, in his book, The Holy Thief, one can learn a great deal about Rabbi Mark Borovitz's story, from a life of crime to a life in the rabbinate. Mark Borovitz described himself as a mobster, gangster, con man, gambler, thief, and a drunk. He's seen it all, the book says. That kind of radical honesty is really what makes him so charismatic in person. And this inspiring memoir takes you on his journey from the streets to discovering his soul in a prison cell. His theology and practice is captured in the book as well. For Rabbi Borovitz, and I alluded to this before, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are not the most important holidays. What is the most important? Passover. Passover is the holiday. The Exodus is not this external story of the ancient Israelites. The Exodus, to Rabbi Borovitz, is a narrative that is deeply personal. He asks profound questions. What if you are a slave and you did not know it? Who is your Pharaoh? The Exodus is the long, hard journey of life itself. And that journey to the promised land is teshuvah. It's our personal story of return to ourselves, who we truly are, beings made in the divine image. Now, teshuvah can be done in different ways. Each of us has a different way of exercising that spiritual muscle so it does not stiffen and so that our wrongs do not bottle up. There's also a story of one famous Hasidic rabbi, Yaakov Yitzchak Halevi Horowitz, known as the Seer of Lublin. Lublin, I had to look it up myself, is in the eastern part of modern-day Poland. And when he was a child, the Seer of Lublin actually lived near a forest. And almost daily as a young boy, he would actually venture off into the woods by himself. And his father, who was generally a very tolerant and understanding man, he didn't want to interfere with his son's daily excursions, but as any father would be, he was concerned because he knew that forests could be dangerous. Now, one day, the father pulled his son aside. He said, I noticed that every day you venture off into this forest. I don't want to forbid you to go there, but I want you to know that I'm concerned about your safety. Why is it that you go there, and what is it that you do there? And his son replied, I go into the forest to find God. That was the boy's simple response. His father was deeply moved. It's beautiful. And I'm pleased to hear that you're doing that, but don't you know God is the same and can be encountered everywhere. God is, the boy answered, but I'm not. Now, a similar parable is told by the medieval Italian preacher Leon Modena. Leon said that when people pray, it's like a man in a rowboat pulling himself to shore. Now, to someone unfamiliar with that spectacle, it might look as though the man were pulling the shore to him rather than the other way around. When we see our community and many Jews around the world pray and seek teshuvah on these high holidays, it may appear that this is the one time a year that these prayers are answered and that teshuvah is possible. But that is not the case. These are the last days to do this holy work. Teshuvah is possible any day throughout the year. Like the seer of Lublin, we must make the intention to place ourselves in this teshuvah frame of mind, this teshuvah mindset throughout the year, and especially now. Whether that means coming to shul, taking the time to journal or meditate, or venturing out into a forest, teshuvah ultimately is coming closer to God on our terms. Now, at this time of year, I always like to take a Sephardic and what I see as an optimistic approach to these high holy days. Thank you, God, for this incredibly generous opportunity to make teshuvah. In these 10 days, let us reflect on the year that was and make it our intention for the year to come to make our own practice of teshuvah. Let us make it fixed. Let us make it regular so that we don't let our wrongs bottle up and that we will perhaps be a little less stiff-necked in the year to come. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Turn to page 282 and rise for our Aleinu prayer. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gdula l'yoseh breshit, shehudotei shamayim
v'yosed aharetz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim imav. U'shchinatu zo b'gofei meromim, u'Eloheinu einod, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, b'ifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Gesundheit. Page 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Please take a seat. On page 289, let's reading number 3. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance, and our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. I'd like to share with you the names of those in our community that I'm aware of, that we are remembering. At this time, we are remembering the first week of mourning for Owen Dean Rhodes Kunz, and Shloshim, the first 30 days for Ben Simon. If you're observing Shiva or Shloshim or Shana, the first year of mourning, I invite you to please rise now. We also are observing the following yortzites. If you hear the name of a loved one, please rise. Israel Acker, Carol Axelrod, Isabeth Brieger, Isidore Cohen, Miriam Cohen, Herman Nathal David, Louis Stubbin, Bernard Freeman, Charles Fryman, Nathan Gallen, Hilda Gilbert, Abraham Gordon, Francis Geyer, Sanford Halpert, Nathan Henkin, Lillian Krasny, Herbert Levy, Pauline Luckoff, Henry Marcus, Robert Bob Masters, Alexander Nave, Jelana Oster, Marion May Princer, Alfred Sabat, Estelle Schaefer, Ruth Schreiber, Robert Snee, Edward Stemple, A.B. Tenenbaum, Harry Traeger, Jennifer Woltman, Lawrence Michael Zelko. I invite you to please now share the names of those you are remembering out loud. We say Zichronam to all those names mentioned. May all of their memories be for a blessing. And together we join with our community in solidarity for the mourners in our midst as we read the words of the Kaddish on page 294. And as the Cantor did for the earlier reader's Kaddish, let's add Le'ela Ule'ela for these high holy days, that we should be elevating God above and beyond what we can imagine at this time. Together on 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Ve'alma divra chiruteh ve'amlich malchuteh. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari v'yimru Amen. Yehei shemei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei kudusha brichu le'ela ule'ela min kol birchata b'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav Uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen.
Amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us in the midst of Shabbat Shuvah, this high holy day season, and to all of us, to all Israel, to all the world, which we say together.
Amen.
Amen, amen. Please take a seat. It's my pleasure to invite Joan, a member of our board of trustees and also a loving member of our ed team, which I'm on as well, to lead us in announcements. Joan, we've got a microphone for you here for all of our folks here and online.
Shabbat shalom.
Nice and close. Shabbat shalom.
Shana tova.
Shana tova.
I want to thank Cantor Moses and Rabbi Klein for leading us in worship tonight. It was beautiful. Thank you both.
Thank
I
you.
also want to thank Bruce Piper for the beautiful music
Thank you, Bruce.
that helps I missed
Yes, we're going to miss him for a couple weeks, but, you know, he's going on a cruise. He has an excuse.
Oh, that's too bad. We'll think of you with heavy heart.
Yes, we'll miss you, but we'll welcome you back in October.
We'll continue our Yom Kippur observance next week. The late Kol Nidre and family services are full. They're over capacity. We'll have a busy afternoon on Yom Kippur Day, an afternoon of reflection, contemplative music at 1, Jewish meditation at 2, Torah study all about Jonah, alternative messages at 3 o'clock, a special Tot program with Cantor Moses at 4. I'm sure we could all come and observe. I'll bet it's going to be a lot of fun. Our high holiday holy food drive is underway, and please return your filled grocery sack. All donations benefit the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. Shabbat shalom to all of you.
Shabbat shalom.
So we raise a glass for this new year in the Shabbat Shuvah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'ratzav banu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon inchilanu Zikaron למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
לחיים.
L'chaim. Okay, I took a sneak peek for this grand reveal. Gotta get those round challahs one day. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
And we close with the singing of Psalm 27 that we do during this time. You can find the words on page 358. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai. Achat sha'alti otav lakesh. Shivti, shivti. בבית אדוני שבתי שבתי כל ימי חיי לחזות בנועם אדוני. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and Gemar Chatima Tova. I'll tell you what that means in just a second after Joan has one last announcement. Well, turn on the mic. I want to make sure they can hear you. Your ushers. Oh, you're good. You're good.
I forgot to thank our wonderful ushers, Dave Reisman and Tracy Owen, and also Joe Baumgartner. I really apologize because these are the people that make everything so wonderful when we come to Temple and make us so comfortable when we come in.
Thank you, Joan.
Amen
Yes.
to that. Thank you, Joan. I want to wish you all Gemar Chatima Tova this time of year. May you be sealed and live in the book of life this coming season.
Amen.
Shana Tova.
Gemar Chatima
Shana
Tova.
Tova.
Shabbat Shalom.